Hey, Facebook. No. YouTube. Sharing on Facebook. Facebook was my first thought. And now let's get this rolling. It's going to take me to another screen really quick. Here we go. All right. Here we are talking about trusting the self. Sorry. Good. Okay. Trusting the self. I often get asked this question, how do I trust myself? How do I get good at trusting myself? And I'm hearing people all the time, and I ask myself this question from time to time, am I truly listening and trusting the impulses that I have? Because it's often easy to trust an impulse initially, and then as you go into steps of implementation, to allow the plan to change or to revert back to what it was. So you have this idea of how you want to change your life, and it's an inspiration moment, and it could just be a little thing. It could be like, I'm going to clean out that closet in the hallway. And sometimes when we go to do the thing that we've had the inspiration and the alignment around, and we start the task, now I'm using a very mundane example, but it's applicable to all the areas of our life, because if we begin something and then we start to see that this is like a daunting task that we had, made the decision to do, and maybe it's going to be just easier now to not do it, or to do it next spring, or to, do it later. Maybe this isn't the thing I want. And often we make that decision based on emotions that we have. We might get a little anxiety. We might feel... Okay, that's funny because right when I said frequency change, then I got kicked off. So, even we're going through a frequency change while I'm talking about this. So, we make a decision. We change some part of our belief structure. We decide we need to do something new. And then we start moving in the direction of that, and sometimes we get a feeling of anxiety or shaking. Now, sometimes it's easy to go, oh, I'm shaking, I'm nervous, like I really need to do this, and go through it. But when it becomes a subtler thing, or it's a longer, drug out process, because you could get shaky before you get on stage, but then you just know that you're about to get on stage, so you're just going to trust that shakiness is normal, and you're going to just get past it and get on stage. And maybe you even shook all the way through the presentation, but when you're done, you realize now you feel calm. So that's a really sped up example of when we want to make a change in our life, or we get a prompt to do something. Now, the initial prompt, a lot of times we feel elated, we feel free, we feel a peace in that, and that's the part that we get to learn how to trust. But as we move in the direction of the thing we've been inspired to do, that I'm going to say comes straight through us from source, as we're moving through, we often can experience a sort of anxiety and uneasiness, a fear, an idea of going back to the old way. But all of the things that are popping up for you in the journey of the thing, you see, it doesn't really matter what the thing is that you're wanting to go toward. The journey of self-trust is about, okay, I heard the inspiration, or I felt the truth for me about this one thing or anything. And then the game is, how much can I trust myself in it? So as you follow, and sometimes we give ourselves these trust lessons, I feel like, as we're learning to trust ourselves. And I kind of gave myself a crash course in really trusting myself when I decided to learn the emotion code, and it required me to do muscle testing. And muscle testing is a trust game. Like, you have to realize that you will know when you get a strong answer, and your muscles respond to that. But as I was learning that technique, I was like, geez, do I really trust myself enough to do this and to do this for other people? And for me, that sped up the journey that I'd had so many times of, going down a path and knowing that it was the right way to go, even though maybe people told me I was crazy. That's often a big one. I keep getting bumped off. But a lot of rational or logical ideas will often be presented as a reason why not to trust yourself. And a lot of times those are the things we tell ourselves as well. We are like, I want to do this thing, or I feel this thing is right, but it just doesn't make sense in this way, this way, this way. So trust, by its very nature, right? It's requiring something of us. Trust means that you don't have the sure outcome yet, but you're lending your energy to that. You're putting yourself behind a thing or an idea or a person. If you're bringing trust into a relationship, you're putting energy, confidence behind that person. And so as we do this, sometimes what often happens is, somebody will do something that we've trusted and they will have harmed us, and then we will begin to question our ability to trust them. We'll think, okay, I trusted you, but you broke my confidence, so now I can't trust you anymore. So what it really is reflecting is, I can't trust me because I trusted you. So what was I thinking there? Like, can I trust myself? So oftentimes these people show up as a blessing so that we can refine our sense of self-trust. That's how I like to see it. And of course, there's other things around that as well, but one gift from experiencing an untrustworthy person is we get to meter ourselves. And if that's something that keeps showing up over and over again, then it's something to really look at. Like, hey, do I trust myself? And we might then, with logical reasons, be like, no, because obviously I did this and this and this, and look what happened. But then we need to go a little bit deeper, or we can invite ourselves, if we really want to get to the core of the truth for us, and to really be able to trust the self, because who doesn't want to be able to trust themselves, right? That's our inner compass, to know that we can trust the impulses, and there's been so many things coming forward where it's like, oh, well, what if it's not even my emotion? What if it's my ancestors? What if it's my past lives? What if this is society? And all these influences, they make us question the purity of what we can feel, right? Like chemicals, environmental pollutants, all these things challenge us. Like, hey, am I really even feeling myself? And I invite you that is a process, one that can be helped, can be coached through, or you can coach yourself through. Like, sometimes it helps to have someone, but to definitely give yourself the time. It's like delicately opening up a package, or opening petals to reveal. And sometimes we can't reveal something of ourselves all at once. Like, there is a process. Like, we'll open a little bit and then we'll experience another layer where we get to initiate ourselves through and see if we get it, if we get the lesson or the insight. And then we can then apply that. And the more that we do this, it's like we're going through our own inner school in a way. Like, reality kind of mirrors for us what's going on for us in here. And the collective, if there's a large untrust in, say, a system, like a government or a healthcare industry or wherever the trust cannot be had, then we must also bring home in some mistrust in my reality, my perceptible reality. And I'm noticing that's around systems. the systems that are meant to support us. Yes, that's how they were put in place. You know, the initial intention was that. At least that's what we like to believe and think would be true. Yes? And the same about ourselves. Like, okay, so then I take that back to myself and I say, where in me have I lost trust in the systems of my multidimensional self as my this person me? You know, and some of the lack of trust could simply be because we're not really even aware or not having contact with certain parts of ourself. So there, you know, there's a breach. Like if you don't talk to someone for, you know, years and years and years and years, some people you will always and forever trust, and some people are, you know, they haven't reached that depth with you, and you were like, well, you know, like maybe we need to reconnect and see where this is at, depending on the depth, you know, beforehand. So, when I see society and I see the lack of trust, I look in myself and I say, where am I not trusting the systems in me, and where can I work to trust those systems so that I have deeper trust in myself as a cosmic being, you know, as this being who's incarnated. Gosh, I obviously must have had something to do. Like, I can't believe that I had nothing. Yeah, let me complete this and I'll come help you. Unless you want to get dressed yourself. Yeah, get dressed yourself then. Oh, the drama of it all. You can trust yourself, and if you want to bring the pants in here, I can help you. I'm just going to finish this up. So the explosive energy of emotion can also be what it feels like to really notice. Hey, this isn't okay with me while I'm doing this recording. I feel like this is the inner dialogue that goes on within yourself when you begin to break down and find where the system is not working. Like, okay, is my inner system, is my inner health system working? I'm recording right now. I'm already doing something. So when I'm done, I will. Okay, but I won't if you keep sitting here asking me in this way. It's really not cool. Okay, go close that door so the balls don't get thrown in here. So this is my world. So in some ways, I think an inner structure, a system that isn't, you know, I don't fully trust is like the way parenting is set up in this culture, in this country.
You made me break it. It's broken forever.
It's not broken forever. And as a single mom who works, sometimes I think, man, my inner parental structure is broken. It's broken, it doesn't work, I don't fully trust. You know, I've gone through that process with myself where I'm like, I'm not fully trusting my process as a mom. Like, how can I drop into that? Because I would let other people's opinions affect me and be like, hey, if your kid's crying on film while you're doing a live, that's not very professional. I would have people say. And, you know, he jumps on me and falls and hurts himself and screams and doesn't actually care about what I'm doing on film. He cares more, of course, about his own needs. And I will help you. I will help you when this is done.
No!
So, we had snow today here. And he's super excited about it.
I want to do a snow gun out there.
That sounds fun. So do as much as the getting ready as you can.
I can't. I don't even know how.
Of course you can. Of course you can. They're just like pants.
I don't want to do that.
Okay, well then you can sit here with me while I finish, but please no boogers on film. That's all I have a problem with. So, as I've learned to be a single mom and work, then I'm like, okay, you know, I have to trust that my audience is going to be down with if I have an interruption like this. I'm not in a professional studio. I'm actually kind of down with showing that we can do multiple things. Like, we can talk about these things and we can struggle at the same time. You know, like, that's the alchemy of it. You are so silly and disgusting. You are gross. I'm gonna get comments about you eating your boogers on film forever, and we'll watch this when you're 18. And we'll show. Anyway, gross. So I'm down with being okay with exactly how my life is unfolding, and I've learned to trust that about myself. I'm like, you know what? If people are not going to like it, that's not my thing. Like, maybe I don't even fully like it when this happens, but it stretches me and it pushes me to see how I can be okay with it and how I can merge with that reality and just let both simultaneously exist. So I guess I'm going to again say, like, where inside yourself is there a system that you haven't trusted, a belief structure, a bodily thing, like when my body goes through something like a cold or a flu. No, I'm going to save my viewers. Then I'm trusting that my body is releasing stuff it doesn't need, that my body is smart, that my body wants to clear out stuff that's blocking it. Like this. Do you want to share a story about trusting yourself? Do you trust yourself? Oh, that sounds like a scream to me. Do you trust yourself in anything, Karuna?
No.
Do you trust that you know how to draw?
No.
Do you trust that when you go to sleep at night you're going to wake up in the morning?
No.
You don't? I'm just wondering what a 5-year-old trusts and how you learn to trust yourself.
I said I didn't say it. I said I don't want to trust it.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't trust themselves. And a lot of moms and dads, parents don't trust themselves. Like even the idea of reading. Hey. Nope, not anymore. Not anymore. Hey, let's not cool while I'm doing a recording. And I'm still doing a recording. Okay? I don't want you to interrupt. I want you to wait till I'm done. It's very rude. And I will help you as soon as I'm done. And if you're going to keep doing it, then I'm not going to help you. Because you're not helping me right now. Okay, then go start getting ready. That's what you can do.
I don't even know how.
Thank you for witnessing my parenting moment. This is a real life thing. And I'm happy to say that I'm not ashamed to have it on film. Please close the door.
No.
Right now.
No.
I will come out when I'm finished. In 5.
No.
In 4. In 3. In 2. If you want my help, you close it right now. Thank you. And I love you. This has never happened like this on a live, not quite. Though I had someone publicly want to shame me for that. What you gonna do? You got kids. I can't always put them in a different room, and though right now I'm asked him to go so I could talk about trust, and I trust that he knows that I love him. I trust that if you are still watching to this point, that you're interested in the raw and the real. So, trusting yourself. I was talking about a system not working, a system that you perceive as not working. Right now, I'm like, okay, that system wasn't working, and now it is working because I put my foot down and I decided how it was going to work for me. If you just start jumping on, my kid was in here throwing a big fit, and I let him for a minute, and I used it as part of the talk, and then I made him leave the room. Okay, and I'm suggesting this is also something we can do to learn to trust ourselves in reality, where you notice some things you let go on for a bit. You want to see what they're going to play out. How is this something that works for me or not? And then you can decide, hey, my instinct is everything no about this, everything no. And you change the situation and deepen the layer of trust that you have for yourself when afterwards things feel more aligned. So it's often easier when it's a really big feeling thing, right? It feels like something, you get the impulse, you stop it, and then you're like, phew, I'm sure glad I did that. But it's often more difficult on things that are spread out over time, where you're like, I'm not sure. I made the decision, but now as I'm going along it, how can I keep trusting myself? And so in those day-to-day moments where you often dip and you feel like you're not really sure if it's still going that way or not. And here's the cool clue and key that I've learned about reality and trusting myself is we are kind of like on an ocean, on a river, like things meander, like things pop up out of nowhere. It's more quantum than it is linear. And so that even though we have a goal in mind from our logical self or even our inner heart, also remember reality has a mission for us, if you will, that's being beamed through us. And even though we started in one direction and we think we know what the end result is, trusting yourself also means you trust that alignment with a divine that's moving you along. And so things might change your course. And you might go over here for a while. And you're like, well, I thought I was doing that, but now I've changed course and I'm over here. It's like, do you then beat yourself up and try to get yourself back on that course because you have the vision and you want to stay on it? Or do you
I
move
just stepped on something.
and shift with the meandering
No.
and trust the flow of the river of life? Okay. So I'm going to trust that him coming back in is meeting me now, and we've gone long enough. So trust yourself while the river of life meanders. If that original thing is going to happen and meant to happen, you will get there no matter what. You'll just find yourself there. So even more than having a goal, trust life. Thanks for joining me in Karuna today.